Hello and welcome students. Today we are going to discuss about air, and the key concepts are compositions of air, properties of air, process of breathing, and air pollutions. We are going to discuss in all these topics, okay? And uh, in the first part we are going to learn about the air. It says that we have already learned in the previous class that anything that has mass and occupies space is called matter. Everything around us is matter and it exists in three different states, and we all know it. We have studied, that is solid, liquid and gas. Okay, here it says that on this basis of properties of a substance, it is categorized as solid, liquid and gas. This properties in turn depends on the arrangement of tiny particles which constitutes all matter. Okay, so here it says that anything that occupies space and that has a mass is called a matter. Let's see how the arrangements of tiny particles influences the properties of substances. Solid. What is solid? We are going to see it here in the book. Okay, it says that in solid the particles are kept very close to each other, therefore they are fixed shape and size. Solids differ greatly in nature. Some solids like stones and diamonds are very hard, while solids like clothes and paper are very soft. Liquid. The liquid says the properties in liquid are not so closely packed as in solid. We all know the solid part is hard and we cannot press it. But in liquid, it says that particles in liquid are not so closely packed as in solid and are free to move around. We all know in a liquid, if we pour water, we can easily see that water, whichever sides it gets, it flows towards that side. This is why liquid is not a fixed shape. When poured, they flow easily and take the shape of the container. If you pour the water in the container, it will occupy the shape of the container. If you pour the water in the ground, the water will flow as it takes the shapes, or if the water gets the position. Okay, so here it says we are going to see about the gases now. It says that they do not have a fixed shape. Gases, they don't have a fixed shape. They fill all the available spaces because the particles are very closely packed. So gases, we can see the examples of the cooking gas. The cylinder, when it is empty, it is little lighter, but when it's packed with filled with gas, the gas is very heavy. The cylinder, we cannot carry it easily, but when it is empty, we can carry it very easily. So in gases, when it is compressed, it gets more heavier than the empty one. Okay, now we are going to discuss about the air. It says that air is a mixture of gases. We all know that air is a mixture of gases. We all are familiar that air is present everywhere around us. Like without air we cannot live, and air is very essential for our body. We cannot see, smell or touch air, but we can feel it. We have seen the examples. Without air we cannot live, but air is very essential in our life. Without air we cannot live. None the plants nor the human beings can live without air. We cannot see the air, but we can feel it. We can feel the presence of air when it moves. For example, when leaves of trees rustles, and when the clothes hanging on a clothesline sway. So the examples are given. Like if we just drive our clothes on the wire, when air moves, the clothes moves, and we can see when the clothes move or anything that moves, the leaves of the trees, when it moves, it's we can see the moving leaves, and we come to know that this air is passing by. So let's read more about air in this chapter. Okay, so compositions of air. What is compositions of air? It says that air is compressed of mixture of gases present in Earth's atmosphere. It's mainly consists of nitrogen and oxygen. Okay, air is a mixture of gas and it is mixed with the nitrogen and oxygen. It also contains carbon dioxide, argon and other gases. Okay, In small quantities, nitrogen is the most abundant gas present in the air, followed by oxygen. Oxygen is needed by animals and humans to breathe and survive. So, without air, we cannot live. The human beings, it is very important and necessary that we need air, and we cannot live without air. It also is necessary for burning. Carbon dioxide is utilized by plants to carry out photosynthesis. So, we all know carbon dioxide is also there, and it is very essential for the plants to make photosynthesis. Water vapor is the invisible and gaseous states of water present in the atmosphere. It is one of the important components of air as it determines the weather of a place. The condensations of water vapor to its liquid to solid state is responsible for clouds, rain and snow. So here we see that water vapor, the condensations that takes place when the sun shines, the water vapor rises up, it forms the clouds, and when it gets heavier, we get rain. Beside this, air also consists germs, smoke and dust particles in it. Now we are going to see about the properties of air. The book says that we already know that air is colorless and odorless. Let's discuss some more properties of air. Now we can see some of the examples today. Okay, air occupies space. How it occupies space, we are going to see. The book says that these properties can be easily observed when we blow air in a flat balloon. Children, you can take your balloons and you can blow air on it, in it. Okay, and by that, when you fill air, the balloon gets bigger. It inflates and becomes big in size. This is because air occupies the space available inside the balloon and gives it a shape. Similarly, when air is blown into a flat type swinging tube and football, they becomes inflated and changes their shape. So here the properties of air, we saw that in a balloon, if we take the example, when we fill it, it takes the shape of the balloon, but we cannot see the air. Air has a weight. This can be easily observed by preparing the weights of an inflated objects and deflated objects. For example, a balloon with air in it is always heavier than a balloon without the air. So it's an experiment. If we go and check it, without air the balloon is lighter, and when we fill air in it, the balloons get heavier because air is inside it. When air is blown into a flat type swinging tubes and footballs, they becomes inflate and change their shape. So swimming tube and football, we all have seen the footballs and swimming tube. They have air filled inside it, and when it air is filled inside it, it floats, and the football changes its shapes when the air is filled inside it. Okay, so here we saw it. Now air has weight. This can be easily observed by comparing the weight of an inflated object and deflected object. For example, a balloon with air, it is always heavier than a balloon without the air. This is because the air has weight, and thus it makes an inflated object heavier. So when we fill air in a football or in a balloon, it gets more heavier. Okay, air expands on heating. How air expands on heating, we'll see here. When air gets heated up, the air particles spread out and start moving faster in all directions. In this way, air expands and fills a large space. So when the air is being heated, it expands and fills the large space. Okay, the example it is been given. Air supports burning. Oxygen present in air helps in burning. Okay, so without oxygen we cannot burn anything. So some of the examples are given in the book. I want you all to do the experiments. I'm going to give you in the picture, and you are going to see it, and you can do the examples how the air is been filled, and whether the balloons are heavier or lighter. You can do the experiment at home. The process of breathing. Here it says we know that breathing is the process of taking in and giving out air. All living things need air for their survival. Without breathing, they cannot survive. Thus, they have special organs in their body to carry out breathing. Human beings, we cannot live without breathing. Without air, it is very impossible. We cannot live without air. Plants breathing through the stomata that are present on the lower part of their leaves. Different animals and different breathing organs. Most aquatic animals breathe through gills. So we all know fishes, they use their gills to breathe inside the water. Insects like ants breathe through spiracles. Okay, so insects, they use their spiracles to breathe. Like human beings, they use their nose or the lungs to filter the air. They take the breath inside. So breathing is the process to live a life. Okay, so here it says that human breathe in and breathe out air through their noses. So we all know breathing, human beings, they need nose to breathe the air in and out. The act of taking in air into the lungs is called the inhalation. Okay, and while the act of giving out air is called exhalation. Okay, so we saw the process of breathing. Now we are going to discuss about the air pollutions. What is air pollutions? We are going to see. It says that air pollutions is the pollutions of air causes when smoke and harmful gases from vehicles, factories and other sources enter the air. Any substance that pollutes the air is called the pollutions, like smoke, dust and harmful gases, for example. Okay, so pollutions that makes our environment dirty. The pollutions, the air that comes out from the factories and the industries, the vehicles, that pollutes the air, and it is very critical for the human beings and the animals to breathe when the air is polluted. This decreases the quality of air and makes it unhealthy for breathing. Besides this, germs like bacteria and viruses are also pollutants. This presence in the air also reduces the quality of air. The air that we breathe, we need fresh air to breathe. And when we don't plant trees, it is very difficult for the human beings to breathe clean air. So I want that each and every students to plant at least one tree, so that when it grows up, it can use the photosynthesis, or it can use gives us oxygen to breathe, because when we breathe, the carbon dioxide comes out and the plants uses it for their photosynthesis. Now, causes of air pollutions. Air pollutions causes either naturally or due to human activities. Some natural causes of air influences volcanic eruptions, dust storms and forest fires. But human activities are the major causes of air pollutions. We human beings, what we do, we uses vehicles for small distances, and when we use vehicles, the vehicle gives out carbon dioxide and it becomes very unhealthy for the human beings to breathe. It is caused by us through the use of fuels. When we use fuels, the vehicles gives out the smoke. Smoke releases from vehicles and factories, bursting of crackers during fuels such as wood, coal, petroleums and other natural gases, spraying of insecticides and pesticides, and burning of garbage in open areas are some of the human activities that causes air pollutions. Sources of pollutions like bacteria and viruses in the air are splitting, coughing, sneezing, improper garbage disposals, stagnant water and unhygienic living conditions. So many of the peoples, they don't have proper garbage, they don't have proper drains where water can flow easily, and this causes pollutions. But when we use the vehicles, when we burn the garbages, it affects the environment. and the human beings, they cannot breathe properly. Not even they cannot breathe properly, and the animals also have hard time because they also need oxygen to live. Now it says that effects of air pollution. Here it says that air pollution has a direct impact on the quality of air and human health. Air, it is very necessary and important for the human beings. As I have told you before also, it causes many health problems such as flu, tuberculosis, asthma, chest pain, headache, irritations of eye, sneezing and coughing. These are some of the things that causes with the air pollution. It also causes imbalance of nature like change of climatic conditions. Now how we can prevent the air pollutions? The book says the primitive measures to keep air clean. Do not waste electricity at home. Switch off the light and fans when not in use. So children, I want to ask you, do you put off the fan when you don't use it, or you just leave the room putting on the fan and you go out of the room? Don't do it. When you are out of the room, just put off the fan and light when you leave the room. Plants more trees to keep air clean and fresh. Okay, we need to plant more and more trees so that we can keep the environment clean, and the human beings can live more healthy and happier. Use wind energy, solar energy and other renewable sources of energy to reduce burning of fuels. Now government is using the solar system to supply electricity in the villages and in many of the towns. Use wind energy, solar energy and other renewable resources of energy to reduce burning of fuels. Use public transport to walk to go to smaller distance. We human beings in our daily life, what we do in the very fast life, what we do for the small distance, we use vehicles to go, and when we use the vehicles, it produces fuel, it produces smoke, and because of that the pollution takes place. Likewise, many of the points are given, like use public transport or walk to go to the smaller distance, use CNG, compressed natural gas and LPG, like liquefied petroleum gas as fuel for the vehicles to reduce release of harmful gases. Factories and industries also be set up away from residential areas. So in residential areas the factories should not be there. So many of the points are there which we can discuss, and I want that you should check out the points so that you can use it in your daily life. Okay, thank you.